uh, contested hearing. In your particular case, Mr. Hansen has indicated a willingness to reduce the penalty to $95 if you wanted to resolve this today. All right, so you'd like to set this for a contested hearing. Very well. And this is Officer Ramos. So let me see what we have available.
Your Honor, this will actually involve Officer Cobb as well, because it was when he was doing his emphasis for seatbelts.
All right. So we need something other than December 12th. That's not a, or December 11th. That's not a date anyway.
January 14 has two.
It looks like it. We can set this. We already have a number of hearings scheduled through, because of the holidays, it's through November and December. It looks like our next available contested is on November or January 14th. All right. So we'll set this matter for a contested hearing. On January 14th. It is at 8:45 in the morning. We'll give you a notice of that hearing. And once you receive that, you'll be free to go, okay? All right, thank you. All right, and Mr. Roach, do you just want me to go down the docket or? All right, go ahead. I have that.
I received a letter from last year's office sort of organizing the docket today, considering the fact there was a tier remotely. And the city has agreed to amend this from the no front license plate pursuant to 46-628 subsection 5AI. For a $150 fine. I got approval from Mr. Garibay this morning that that's an acceptable resolution. And so I'd asked that if the common practice is to send that off to Mr. Garibay, he's ready and willing to pay it full.
All right, I'll prepare an order amending. And Mr. Hansen, pursuant to that agreement, I'll just affix your initials here to the bottom, indicate you appeared remotely. Based on that record, I will make this amendment, find the infraction committed, impose the recommended penalty of $150. We'll prepare a time to pay agreement, Mr. Roach, and you indicate pay in full within 30 days. All right.
I'll just text him right after. Can he just, in normal business hours, can he drop off a check with the cause number on it or something?
Yes, or there's a drop box above the drinking fountain on the way back out that he can drop it in there. At any time, there's an envelope there as well. Just make sure he includes the cause number, or you can mail it in.
Okay, great. We'll get it done. That worked fine. We'll get,
Right, this might be just slightly slower today because we don't have the paperwork that Mr. Hanson typically prepares, but we'll get through this. All right.
Jose Chapa.
Yes, I have that.
Judge, I just want to do a little mitigation explanation here. If you've gotten the most from the property, they would agree to mitigate things. Their proposal is $200 if you did. So I don't have any proof of insurance today whatsoever.
Right.
I'll explain why. So Jose Chapa is kind of a rough go of life. I don't know if you guys know this, but there are people that doesn't have much of anything by way of. But he lived with us for on and off for years. He's kind of struggled to do the right thing in life. So we got this car from a guy up in Spokane, and the title was finally transferred. And it had insurance on it, as he understood it from the friend of his up there. Turns out it didn't, to be honest. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And since then, he's actually moved to Florida to live with his brother on a military base, which is actually a fantastic thing. He's got a job at Buffalo Wild Wings over there that was waiting for him when he got there. He drove across the state apparently with the aid of a friend. And so he's kind of relocated and started his life over again. And that's all very positive thing to report. So the reason why I just give you a little bit of background there is because really money is the issue here. His brother is an active Air Force. And as a consequence, it's my understanding that actually his brother is going to be able to provide insurance, medical and auto insurance through USAA. So it's a matter of time. I tried to text him this morning and see if he's gotten that worked out. It's a matter of time before he's going to have the best insurance on earth. But I can't give you any proof of that right now. So my hope is that maybe you can make the. Does he have prior to insurance tickets?
He does.
Are there a lot of them?
No, no.
Good.
I'm gonna do this based on that record. I'm gonna impose the $200 and
Thank you.
give him the opportunity. We'll set payments at $25 a month, and we can start those in December or January.
How about we start them in January? That would be a real big deal.
We'll start them on January 29th.
And then in terms of an address, I can't give you his address yet. But what I'll do is when he gets back to me today, I'll tell him to call afternoon.
I can provide you with a time pay. You can mail it to him.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll find the infraction committed based on that record, impose a penalty of $200.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then I can call one last matter, Your Honor, which is not my last matter, but one last matter right now. That's Julie Elliott. It's a red light allegation.
Yes.
And she was one of the drivers. And so I don't know what the appropriate form is.
There are two things that we do with regard to the red flex citations. We take a look at who the registered owners are. If there's more than one registered owner, we require both of them to indicate that they're not the registered drivers. I don't know if we did that in this case, given the fact that it was set for a pre-hearing conference with an attorney. I don't see that chat. There is I can show you this, the document. In the middle of this document is a segment that an individual would complete if they were the registered owner, but not the person in the care, custody, control of the vehicle at the time.
And then it tells you, it leaves a space and a little instruction to rat out the person who's taking the item.
We do not reissue these to anybody else. That's so that people will be honest with the indication that they were not the driver of the vehicle.
And
So
may I fill out that affidavit as her attorney on her behalf? I mean, if I can assert that.
Sure. Yep.
I think I can do that.
Yep.
I'll do that right now.
And what we would do is we would double check if the named driver is the other registered owner, then it wouldn't be dismissed. It'd stay.
And
Yeah.
she doesn't, I'll be honest. I mean, this is on the record, but this
Yeah.
is not part of the actual formal evidence of the case. But if she doesn't know if it was her son or her husband. I mean, she doesn't
Yeah.
know.
And if she's the only registered owner of the vehicle, then it'll just be dismissed.
Okay, well, I think that's probably true. And then I think I just leave the name of the driver as a question.
Yeah, if she doesn't know, that's fine.
She doesn't. So, okay, Judge, thank you. I'll fill this
And
out.
I don't know if you're aware or not, but none of these get reported to the Department of Licensing. They're treated like parking tickets. They just wouldn't be able to renew their vehicle registration if there was some penalty imposed and they didn't pay that. So,
And I think in fairness, I probably have some other defenses, but I'm trying to spare everybody that conversation too, if we can. So, but I'll fill this out on her behalf if you don't mind, and I'll just present it back up to the court here in a minute.
all right.
Thanks, Judge.
And this is Ms. Consuelo in the audience. Is that right? All right. We're waiting for the interpreter.
Estamos esperando al intérprete.
And Mr. Jones, I see you have a couple of them on the docket today. Are you ready on any of your cases?
Your Honor, I guess I can make the record this. I did get some offers from Mr. Hanson later on. I've been able to confer with clients.
All right.
So I'm just suggesting we can move these. I think some of us certainly don't have the authority at this point to commit on the client's behalf.
You want to reset to another pre-hearing?
Yes, I believe.
All
that's
right.
appropriate, Your Honor.
How much time do you need, Mr. Jones?
What are good days?
We could go to, let me take a look here. We could go to the November 19th.
That's perfect. That should be-
All right. So I have Samuel Alaniz, Miguel Bayardo, Armani Reyes, and Gage Stokesbury. Want to remove each of those to November 19th?
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Mr. Hanson, in case you were not able to hear all of that, Mr. Jones has received your offers in the cases, has not had a chance to talk to all of his clients, so he's requested to reset to November 19th.
I did hear that, and he texted me as well. So
All right. No, that'll be without notice, Mr. Jones. And Julie Elliott, this is cause number 100093771, based on the affidavit signed by Mr. Roach on behalf of his client. We'll dismiss that. All right, Mr. Jones, I have made notations in each of your cases to reset those.
Thank you.
And Mr. Roach, I think the last one you have today is Matthew Potter.
Yes, Your Honor. You will tell my city.
You were hoping somebody would show up.
You want to know, yeah, no, you want to know the funny part of this, that actually Matthew Potter, who lives across the street from me, sister is Julie Elliott.
Oh.
How random was that? I gotta take a picture. Judge, on Mr. Potter's case, here's the bum deal about this. He got grandfathered into the CDL back when he was a soccer coach for Seattle University right after he graduated from there. And so by virtue of the fact he's kept the CDL, the city can't make any of these offers to mask him, right? So we've sent it out almost 2 years or more, whatever, because there was some claim of potential bodily injury associated with this vendor that he was involved in. And to the best of my knowledge, that still has not settled out, which actually isn't incredibly surprising. But having said that, the city did agree to amend this from, I think, is a failure to yield to following too closely.
Yes.
And I think that's about as innocuous as we can hope for under the circumstances. I think the reason why they could amend that is because it still fits the facts. It would not be considered marketing. And agreed to $100 penalty. I think at this point, I couldn't make another year out of this thing. The fact, I think when I wasn't here about 2 weeks ago, the pro tem judge I said, yeah, we're not setting it for January. Or maybe it was your honor, but in any event, so how about we just agree to amend the following too closely, mitigate it to $100. I appreciate the city being really, really flexible on this thing to the extent the law allowed it, and I'll just call it quits today.
I guess we'll just note for the record as well, the way the officer writes the report, I think following too closely is the most appropriate infraction for actually fitting the facts compared to the fail to yield. Because the way I read it, it was a rear end collision and not a left turn.
All right. I don't remember the RCW for
They've actually got it
that.
listed here, 4661 to 145. And I'll just bring in the same sort of thing as Chapa. I'll just bring a little slip and we'll get it.
All right. So I'll make that amendment. What was the recommended penalty?
$100.
$100.
Phenomenal, basically. I do appreciate that. He had insurance that people are gonna be made whole, no doubt. I don't know how, I don't think they're really hurt.
I'll make that amendment, find the amended infraction committed based on this record, impose the $100 penalty.
And like, once again, right, because of the masking thing, you can't even defer that.
That's correct. One.
Patience on that one for sure.
With regard to this, Mr. Potter's case, do you want to pay in full in 30 days?
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Roach. Good morning, Ms. Mendoza. You're here right on time.
So it would appear, Your Honor.
Mr. Hanson, and I'm sure he's communicated with you. He's appearing remotely. He's here with us today via Zoom. He has handed forward some offers related to these. Did you receive those?
Your Honor, I was actually texting him while I was at Benton County this morning. I think what what we're gonna do, or at least what my understanding of the plan is this morning. My client does have insurance as well as a valid Washington State driver's license. It's a temporary one at this point, but he does have that. So, Your Honor, my understanding is that the city is going to move to dismiss the no valid operator's license. And then my client is going to enter a plea of committed to the no insurance, but asked to mitigate that down to $150. And then, Your Honor, with regards to the failing to yield, Your Honor, we're gonna ask for a deferred finding. And we understand that we're gonna have to pay the full price of that infraction. Mr. Hanson, does that sound about right?
Yep, and that is what I emailed to the court as well. So
Nice, and he has provided a copy of that as well. I just need a deferred order, please. So with regard to this, and I'll accept the recommendation, I'll dismiss the driving without a license in the second degree. I'll find the infraction regarding the insurance committed and impose that $150. With regard to the failure to yield, we'll defer that for $190.
And then, Your Honor, my client will need.
He'll have a little extra time on the $150, but he'll have to pay at least $35 a month to pay the $190 off within the 6 month.
That works.
Give me a moment while I complete this order. I'm looking at Mr. Lopez Vasquez, and he essentially, they didn't call it a deferred finding, but he essentially did a deferred finding in 2019 on a no license without identification in Franklin County. They call it a stipulated order of continuance. I suppose this is an infraction, so I'll go ahead and allow that. He will need to make sure, as I indicated, he makes the $35 a month. And if there is a way to apply it first to count one rather than divide it between so that it shows that's paid off within the 6 months. I don't know if that's possible. And if it's not, let's make sure we make some notes that not to revoke him for as long as he stays current on his payments. Yeah. His first payment will be due on November 29th. It'll be due on the 29th of each month thereafter until this is paid. Give you a copy of both the order deferring this as well as the time pay agreement, Ms. Mendoza. You can provide that to your client. All right, thank you.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. We have some other cases that are set today as well. Mr. Green, can you check and verify that there isn't anybody else in the hall? All right, thank you. Gregory Ferris, it is now 9:32 in the morning. This docket was scheduled for 8:45. There's only one individual in the courtroom. It's Avalos. Defendants failed to appear. Ferris? Find the infraction committed and impose a penalty. Luis Garcia. Garcia called indicating that he's been in quarantine for 7 days, not able to make it today. We'll reset this to November 19th. This was reset for him to get insurance. We'll need to send notice, please. Lance Pack. This is a parking violation. There's no appearance today. Find the infraction committed. Impose a penalty. All right, we have one other matter for the pre-hearing conference. Our interpreter is not here yet, Mr. Hanson. It looks like we are ready to proceed on the case on which the individual is in custody. So we'll call that case Stephen Bent. Mr. Bent, just go ahead and stand where you are there, sir. Thank you. You're here today on a violation of other court order. That is a gross misdemeanor. If convicted of that offense, you do face up to 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine. There is no mandatory minimum sentence. However, because this is a domestic violence related offense, if convicted, you would lose your right to possess, own, or control a firearm unless that right was restored by a court of record. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I'll take a moment to review the affidavit of probable cause. I have reviewed the affidavit of probable cause. I do find probable cause in this case. Mr. Bent, you do have a number of constitutional rights as a result of this charge. Those rights were played before court started. Were you able to hear and understand those rights? Do you have any questions about those rights? You have had a chance to talk to Mr. Nacarado today regarding this case, and after doing so, he's indicated you wish to plead not guilty and request the court appoint an attorney. I will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. I'll appoint an attorney to represent you. That attorney's name is Summer Rife. We will give you her contact information. Conditions of release.
Your Honor, city had asked that Mr. Bent have no new criminal law violations, make all future court dates, obey all active no contact orders. In this particular case, the city is concerned about the possibility of witness tampering and Mr. Bent's ability to follow looks like Benton County District Court order. City's concern here is that there's contact. It seems like it might be invited contact, but then there's text messaging that makes it appear as though he's asking her to remove the order. And then he's requesting that she destroy evidence by asking her to delete the text messages, indicating it can't have anything to do with me. I imagine Benton County, the Benton County prosecutor found out about this because on that SOC he entered 9 days ago on that assault 4 and assault 2, they already issued a $50,000 bench warrant for this violation. So the concern is, I'm not sure what the standard range is for an assault 2. But the concern is we won't have Mr. Bent back for quite some time, as well as he will likely attempt to contact the victim in this case and manipulate her or ask her to destroy evidence. So we're going to ask for $5,000 cash or bond while this case is pending.
Mr. Nacarado.
Well, Your Honor, speaking of Mr. Benton, as you can see from his criminal history, I think originally the order stems from the case that originally happened back in July, where I think he was originally held on a potential assault 2. Apparently, the state declined to file on that, and so then it was moved to district court, where I think you can see from his TCH, he's on a deferred sentence on an assault 4, and I think maybe even the assault 2 might have been included in that. But speaking of Mr. Benton, he's actually in Veterans Court currently, and I think he had court just recently, as last week, to address the case. And I'll certainly understand the state's concern and advise Mr. Benton that they were probably going to ask for bail because of the violation. I think the report's pretty telling, Your Honor, and as the state pointed out, it was clearly invited contact here. And again, as the court tells individuals, all the time on these things, the orders against you, not her. But I think what's telling here, Your Honor, is the fact that she called the police from Albertsons in Pasco, basically asserting that he's following her or basically stalking her, having taken a picture of him at the Pasco post office, when come to find out it was because she asked him to take her there. And obviously when she first called the police, she didn't give them any indication to that. And it wasn't only until after Mr. Bent acknowledged that to the officer when they picked him up in Richmond as the Pasco officer, and I'll give him credit for putting this in the report, that he went back to her and said, hey, did you in fact call him to pick you up? And it was only then, when pressed by the officer, that she admitted that. So she's initially calling from Pasco, basically suggesting he's just stalking me out of the blue in violation of this order, which wasn't true. So while certainly there's some allegations on the other end about text, I think those are relevant for both sides, Your Honor. And I think certainly the trier of fact would find these facts somewhat interesting if it went that far. And certainly it's not my case, so I don't have anything to say on that, but I think there's some issues on both ends. But I told Mr. Bent, I've been practicing 30 years and I see this all the time. Somebody's got this order, and when it's convenient, when I need something from you, I'm going to call you. And then when things go south for whatever reason, well, now I'm just going to call the police, and then you go to jail. So there was no allegation that I saw in that report that he threatened her at all, that there was any act of physical violence, other than there was some argument ultimately against the kids. And I guess that's the other concern, is that they have 2 children, 7 and 2. He's working for Circle K. He's trying to support these children. My understanding, and I think the report reflected as well, she's got some medical issues. that's causing some concern. I think that's why he keeps calling you to use rides here and there and needs contact for this or that. So I think both these parties obviously have some issues here. It's really neither one of them come into this with clean hands here. So, Your Honor, so again, he's got obviously issues in Benton County that he may have to deal with. But my concern here is that just based on these facts, I'd ask the court to consider PR so he can get back to work and support these children. But again, I just think it's telling is that we're suggesting that he's just showing up all in blue and stalking me when this wasn't the case here. So again, I don't want to try this case right now, but factually, this presents some unique circumstances here.
So in addition to the disability, Mr. Bent, you're working at the Circle K.
Yes, sir.
How many hours a week do you work?
I get 32 right now. We just got my hours from the 38 to
What's your hourly wage?
minimum wage. For 13.50. I recently got a second cell phone just for contact with the kids as well. So there's just certain things that I don't have to do. I still got a lot of really come hit. Not to take my cars.
You indicate as other income is the $1,696. Is that your disability?
That's the VA.
Yeah. Okay. Even with that additional information, I do find that you meet the requirements for court-appointed counsel. It's important that when you complete these applications that you provide full information. The initial application, Mr. Ben, is a little bit deceiving when you don't include the job that you have.
That was when I hit the VA, I guess I didn't realize that keep going.
All right.
Pretty much included that, so that was me.
All right. This case is concerning, and it's a very good example of scenarios that I tell every individual who has a no contact order. You are the one who ultimately pays the price if the person decides to report a violation. And every order I sign that says you can be arrested and prosecuted even if the person invites you to violate the prohibitions of the order. Every time that happens, you take your future in your hands. It appears that in July, a charge was filed, assault in the second degree, alleging a deadly weapon. That was filed in Superior Court, ultimately dismissed and refiled in District Court, and you were given the opportunity to go through the Veterans Court. There's a warrant, as Mr. Hansen has indicated, in the amount of $50,000 there based on this violation. Although I do find her conduct somewhat reprehensible in that she would ask for a ride and then claim you were stalking her or following her. That doesn't mitigate the fact that the order's in place. You knew the order was in place and you violated anyway, Mr. Brown. I see the only failure or the only warrant in the system currently is the one in Benton County for this Veterans Court in an alleged violation. I understand Mr. Hansen's concern regarding the you being transported over there and possibly being charged with a felony and then not being able to return here. But currently, the felony that is charged in district court. They can't resolve that in district court. They would have to refile those into Superior Court. Because there's not a lot of failure to appear, because it appears that she requested the contact here that resulted in the violation, I'm not going to impose any bail. But you need to understand something, Mr. Brent, whether it's, or Mr. Bent. Yeah, I see that we added an R in the. Ultimately, you're responsible to abide by orders that are entered in your case. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in that veterans court case. They could revoke your agreement and you could be facing those felony charges simply because you elected to violate this order. It doesn't matter that there was no assault that took place. It was a crime to violate the no contact order. We're going to reset this to November 23rd. At 8:30 in the morning. You are required to contact your attorney, Ms. Rife, within 10 days and maintain contact with your attorney. You're not to have any criminal violations. You're not to have any domestic violence related incidents. You're to obey the no contact orders that are in place in these other cases. Any other allegations of violations of conditions of release, Mr. Bent, could result in the court modifying your conditions and requiring you to post bail. Do you understand that? Give you a copy of these conditions of release. We'll also give you your attorney's contact information. That'll conclude this hearing today. You can have a seat, Mr. Bent. Right, we can be in recess. Mr. Hansen, we'll just take a moment. We'll take a moment and wait for the interpreter. I'm just going to ask my clerk to relay to Ms. Avalos that you're not here today. You won't be able to speak to her today about this case, but you are offering to reduce this violation to penalty to $100. Okay.
El fiscal no está presente hoy, nomás está a través del Zoom, de la computadora. Él está ofreciendo reducirle, estamos esperando al intérprete, está ofreciendo reducirle el cargo.
To mitigate the penalty to $100.
Le está ofreciendo reducirle la multa a $100.
Mire, yo no vengo por la multa, yo puedo pagar el ticket como sea. Lo que no me gustó de este policía, que yo iba a llegar a una casa y dijo que yo traía las luces azules.
He says she's not mitigating
Okay.
the amount. What she's mitigating is how the officer took it, that he said that.
Entonces yo iba llegando a mi casa, yo ya iba a mi casa y me para, me da el ticket, le digo, ¿por qué no me vas a dar? Si no hice nada. Dice, porque esas luces.
All right, you can let her know that I'm just conveying to her the offer. If she doesn't want to accept that offer, we'll wait until the interpreter gets here and then we can put on the record.
So, ahorita solamente le estaba diciendo lo que el fiscal estaba ofreciendo. Si no quiere aceptar el ofrecimiento, nomás espérese que llegue el intérprete para que esté todo esté todo grabando.
Yo no me sé lo que le quiero decir, entonces me dio el ticket.
Oh, pero permítame, él ahorita no puede escuchar hasta que llegue el intérprete para que ella pueda traducirle todo al fiscal. Nomás ahí el juez estaba
No, pero yo no quiero que eso me esté remocionando, porque Me gusta el trabajo.
Ok, pero, o sea, nomás le estaba diciendo lo que le estaba ofreciendo el fiscal. Si no quiere aceptar eso, entonces espérese que llegue la intérprete para que ella pueda traducirle todo y esté todo grabándose, ¿ok?
Ándale, pues, porque los policías te salieron de mí. Pues, si quieres cambiar las luces y
Ok,
yo pago el
pero no
piso.
quiere aceptar la oferta, ¿verdad?
No.
Ok, eso está haciendo.
Gracias.
So she's not taking off what she was trying to explain, but I told her that wait till the interpreter
Yeah.
gets here and she'll be on the record. I mean,
All right. We'll be in recess until we have an interpreter. Mr. Hanson, we're going to take a recess until we have the interpreter over from district court.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Tengo que ir para allá.
no, tiene que tomar asiento ahí.
I think are you gonna be able to lock up?
Yes,
Just at the outside doors. There's no need to lock up all four.
yes.
Just outside doors. Okay. Gotcha.
Además en lo que llega ella. Hey, is it list? Or is it available? Oh, okay. Okay, so nomás tiene que estoy aquí esperando que llegue Benny, pero como se fueron los guys, so I can't leave the Benny that's here by herself. Okay, oh, y luego, Sarah, can you call me to the courtroom? When she's available, okay, bye. Hey Linda, so I texted, Esta Betty, the interpreter, we were waiting on her, and I just got a response back from her saying that she was told that she needed to, they needed her for the anti-harassment calendar, so they don't know, she doesn't know how long it's gonna be for, before she gets back, before she could even come to our office. Or the court. I tried calling the judge, but I don't think he didn't answer, he might have been, okay. So, because they want her for the anti-harassment calendar over there, and so she doesn't know. Yeah, because I asked her how long it would be before she was available, and she said that she doesn't know. So that way you can let the judge know, see what he wants to do. Okay, bye. So, did you hear what Betty said? So I texted Betty, or I told him. But I wanted to see if I was gonna process this to process it, pero también ahorita le llamé a.
You can do it for Janet. I mean, if there's some emergency stuff. Okay. then we can do it for
So
Janet. As
I
long as we make
texted
copies.
esta Betty,
Mhm.
and cuando iba a venir para atrás, and how much longer. She hasn't come at all. And she said, I asked, and I am told that I am needed for the anti-harassment calendar, so they don't know. So I was going to choose. And so was no, it's a mitigation. She makes it up. Sorry to explain that. Some of that's so if you want to explain more, so it's says that. I don't know why they don't have it. It seems like we get seconds. Yeah. Seems like we get seconds. We get whatever they don't want. Whenever they die.
I'm going through and check this real quick, but I won't because
Yeah.
let me call.
I wanted to tell Mr. Haskell, oh, I don't know.
Just hold on, let me go see what I can do with this one.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Hansen no sabe todavía.
Oh, okay, let me.
I called in, that's what she was gonna relate it to the judge, I don't know what the judge wants to do. I called in, I don't know if she told her, she says she was right next to her, but I don't know if she told her. So let's see what he wants to do. All
Oh,
right.
that's okay. That's okay. Let me tell you what's happening. Don't go on the record yet. The interpreter is doing several anti-harassment hearings down there. They're gonna send her down here. I decided to come in, so as soon as she gets here, we can call this case so she can go right back.
I'll be off screen, but I am just a step away from my computer. So as soon as she gets here, I can jump back on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
No, tiene que ser alguien que esté certificada por la corte. Ella viene ahí ahorita. Just asking everyone if you call her daughter to intervene. I said, no, they have to be certified. And yeah, she's on her way. Sí, eso es lo que estamos. No, tenemos uno de mejor.
The last time I ordered this corn was in July, and it looks like we need to order more. So Liz asked if it was one that we could print on the tally. I said I would ask to see.
I don't see any reason why not. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not.
So try to print it on. Okay, so you have a stack here too?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, shoot. Maybe we have more than we thought. Okay.
well, Maritza just gave this to me this morning so I could write any changes or offers, but we'll probably put this back because I don't need them up here except for today, so.
Okay, because we grabbed all the ones in the office and I put them in there because they said they were out.
Okay,
And I saw they have a stack there.
so just what we have here in here
Yeah.
is it. Okay, I'll give those back to you. You can have those. I was under the impression that Betty was headed over, but apparently not.
harassment hearings always take a long time.
Yeah, they do.
You know, when I first started working for the district court, and during the interview, they asked if I could interpret in court, and I told them I never have. You know, but as long as I knew what they were going to say before they said it, you know, so I could look up any words I didn't know,
Mhm.
that I could probably do it. So they threw me in court. It was a love triangle. There were two on one side and one on the other, right?
Oh my goodness.
And they were from Madison. And they all three of them didn't speak public English.
Oh.
So they called me to interpret. And I thought my head was gonna come off, and they were using foul language.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know what to say. You know, I asked the judge, I said, so they're using that language. I don't feel comfortable, you know, translating that. And it would be at this, at that, you know.
Right.
And the judge said, just do the best you can. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be it.
I didn't like it, you know, but I did.
That would be
Never forget that.
tough. Did Grant County often use?
This was in, I started working there in 1993.
Oh, yeah.
And their way out of it was, if a court certified interpreter is available,
Right.
that's how it was written.
Right.
So most of the time there wasn't one available, so we would use the clerks. And some of the clerks, they were Latinos, but they couldn't interpret.
Yeah.
It's just not something that just anybody can do.
No, it is difficult.
It's an art.
Yeah.
You know? And so they would hire Spanish speaking, but they couldn't interpret. And they'd call them in the courtroom and they'd say, I can't do it. You know?
Yeah, it's one thing to
It's simultaneous.
Yeah.
Interpretation.
That's hard. Yeah.
So after a while, I just made a list of the words most commonly used, you know, the hearing types, you know, just court jargon. So I kind of like studied it, and so I would just do it. And then I interpreted for a trial. You know, the Earls from Moses Lake.
Yeah.
Doug Earl, Pat Earl.
Yeah.
Well, Doug Earl, they had the defense contract. And Doug Earl was the defense attorney. And it was a bench trial. So we needed an interpreter. There wasn't one of those. So I went in there and I interpreted for the whole thing.
Wow.
Just like, not the whole thing, just the the judge ruled in favor of the appealed it because
There's
the
no
interpreter
certain.
wasn't certified.
Yeah.
So I had told the judge, I said, "Judge, that's a lot of waste of time. If
Yeah.
they're gonna do that,
Yeah.
to lose, why put the clerk through that?
Right.
You know?
And it's stressful. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a stressful
And I
process.
feel like you didn't do a good job, you know, but.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't like that either. It was a little waste of time.
One of those Earls was disbarred.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah.
He had, what he did, Judge, was he didn't wait for them to, like, he didn't challenge it or anything. He
Oh.
just mailed in his
Resignation.
his bar license. You know, because he didn't want to go through that. And then he went to work for Campbell's and Associates. They're like investigators.
Oh, yeah.
And but he didn't go into court.
Oh,
He did work for him. So who knows? Maybe that was a good move for him.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although if you lose your license to practice, you're not supposed to work for anybody who has anything to do with the law. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So he's probably still there.
Yeah.
Him and Guillermo Romero. And maybe them too.
They,
Tom Romero and Guillermo Romero. Guillermo Romero worked with Tom Romero, and they have a Superior Court contract.
they made money hand over fist on that and probably screwed a lot of people out of fair representation.
A lot of these people don't have sales.
Yeah.
And what was said is that he would tell them that, hey, you can pay me, I'll do a better job. So the family would come up.
Mhm.
And, but, you know, that's wrong. You're
Yeah, it is.
Public defender, you're a public defender.
Yeah.
You know,
I absolutely was aware that there were people who were doing that, and it's unconscionable. I don't know how you sleep at night when you do that to people. I just couldn't do it. Yeah.
and the public defense contract, that was a pretty sweet deal.
At one point, they were paying them close to $500,000 to represent. Yep. Yeah, they didn't.
The district court contract and the Superior Court contracts.
Yep.
And
They are the reason for all these guidelines now.
exactly.
Them and Mount Vernon.
Oh,
Mount Vernon did the same kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, there was, I forgot the guy's name. Souls was he's in the back of the, sitting in the back of the courtroom,
Yeah.
watching what they're doing.
Yep.
You know, and then all these requirements came down where they could only take so many cases. And
Yeah.
they had spent so much time in each case, you know.
Well,
And
even
then they started getting paid more.
even yeah. Well, even currently on those, I mean, I know attorneys here who were, there's some flaws in the documents for reporting your cases. So you can be honest, but it doesn't convey the full information. Okay. So it only asks for percentages. It doesn't ask for number of cases. So what percentage of your practice is public defense? So you could say, 100%, but you're taking more than 400 cases a year still. And so you're being honest in the question that was asked, but the rule. So you're being honest with regard to what you do. I'm a public defender. 100% of my cases are public defense cases, but you're only supposed to do a certain number depending on if your felony is 150, if you're district or municipal court, 400 cases. But they don't ask you those numbers, You certify those or you tell somebody about that, but when you report, you just talk about the percentages.
Really?
And that you're meeting the guidelines. And so I know people here in town who were far exceeding the number of cases they should be handling, but they were getting paid because they had 2 or 3 contracts, $10,000 a month as a public offender, because they had, nobody reports them and nobody.
What about how they have that, like, breaking,
Mhm.
Every county has their, like, public defense, I don't know what they call them, but,
It's a,
like,
yeah, it's a director of public defense or something like that. Yeah.
so, don't they keep track of that?
Well, but say I'm working, we'll just say I'm working in Franklin County and say I'm working in Grant County. And I file paperwork in Franklin County that says 100% of the work I do is public defender. They don't ask me if I have any other contracts. They just say, here, I can't take more than 400 cases. Okay, I won't take more than 400 cases here. That's what my contract says. But I also signed a contract in Grant County But if they don't talk or communicate with one another, you don't know that there's a potential violation there, right?
But doesn't it all get sent in like for
No.
payment?
Uh-uh.
Because where does that money come to?
It comes from each individual county or city. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't come from any, there's no state OPD that oversees local jurisdictions. No, there isn't any.
Because, my sister-in-law, she works with Red Hill. They do the public defense in Grand County. And what the attorneys do there is they, when, like during arraignments, when they appoint a public defender, they send a appointment to their office, the public defense office.
Right.
And my sister-in-law says that they appoint.
They assign
so
it
they
to the
keep
attorney, so they
track-
keep track of the number
they
of
keep
cases.
track of
Right. I suggested,
Well, I think really should be doing
well, I
Where
suggested
would
that to Raymond, and he said, well, if I had a staff person, then I would consider doing that. He said, but for what they pay me for doing this, I'm not going to be the person who does all of that extra paperwork. He said, they don't pay me enough to do that. He says, I oversee the contracts, I do those things, I make sure people are here, but
How
yeah.
much more does he need to get paid?
Oh, I don't know. For keeping those records, Larry has a full-time person who helps him with that. And
So wouldn't they have taken that into account? When they.
well, the city doesn't want to have to pay for something they don't.
Oh, I
you know.
thought that then that he's.
Yeah.
We're city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, but we're doing all these laws and all that, and I think it's Ray should be doing this.
Yeah.
Ray should have a secretary.
He should. I agree. I think he should. But I don't want him to take one of my clerks to, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want him to take one of my clerks to give to him and not
Yeah.
have a position here. Although it might make sense to have, that's almost too much of an intermingling of staff. I mean, he should be pretty independent from the court, because he and the city is the one who makes the hiring decisions for the attorneys, whether they meet the qualifications and stuff like that. Ask Ms. Avalos if she wants to continue to wait for an interpreter, if she would rather reset this.
Señora Ábalos, ¿quieres continuar a esperar el intérprete o quieres que lo continuamos a otra fecha? No, es decisión tuya. Ok, pero estamos hablando de la audiencia de hoy. ¿Quieres continuar a esperar el intérprete? No te oí. Okay, she said that if we want to move it to another day, it's not.
If she wants to wait, we'll wait. If she wants to move it, we'll move it.
Okay, dice el juez, si quieres esperar, podemos esperar. Si quieres que, continuarlo a otra fecha, podemos hacer eso. ¿Quieres esperar? Okay, she'll wait. Uh-huh. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I asked her if she wanted to wait or reset, and she said she'll wait. So, thank you. I'm taking these back in the. All right. That was an interesting thing with the also.
Yeah.
I lived through that one.
I was a public defender down here working in Franklin County District Court when they had theirs, and I was just looking at moving into Superior Court on some things, and everybody in the state knew that Grant